The history of foraging spans back to the earliest days of humanity, when our ancestors roamed the earth as hunter-gatherers, relying on the resources provided by the natural world for their survival. Foraging, the act of searching for and harvesting wild plants, fruits, nuts, roots, and other edibles, was a fundamental skill that sustained human communities for millennia. In prehistoric times, before the advent of agriculture, foraging was the primary means of acquiring food. Nomadic hunter-gatherer societies traversed diverse landscapes, adapting to different environments and climates, and utilizing a wide array of plant and animal species for sustenance. This lifestyle required a deep understanding of local ecosystems, seasonal patterns, and the properties of various plants and animals. Archaeological evidence suggests that early humans developed sophisticated foraging techniques, such as toolmaking and fire management, to enhance their ability to gather and process food. For example, the invention of tools like stone blades and digging sticks enabled foragers to efficiently harvest plant materials and extract edible roots and tubers from the soil. As human societies transitioned from nomadic foraging to settled agricultural lifestyles around 10,000 years ago, foraging persisted as a supplementary means of obtaining food. Even as agriculture became the dominant mode of food production, foragers continued to play a vital role in providing variety to diets and accessing resources that were not cultivated. Throughout history, foraging has been practiced by diverse cultures around the world, each with its own traditions, knowledge systems, and culinary practices related to wild foods. For example, many Native American tribes in North America have long-standing traditions of foraging for wild berries, roots, and herbs, which are used in traditional medicines and ceremonies. Foraging also played a crucial role in the exploration and colonization of new territories. Explorers, settlers, and traders relied on their knowledge of local flora and fauna to survive in unfamiliar landscapes, often learning from indigenous peoples who had long established foraging practices. Despite its enduring importance, foraging faced challenges and stigma over time, particularly with the rise of industrialization and urbanization. As societies became more reliant on mass-produced food systems, wild foods were increasingly marginalized and viewed as inferior or even dangerous. Jim Crow laws. During the Jim Crow era, laws and social norms were explicitly designed to oppress African Americans. Black communities in the South, who relied on foraging as a means of supplementing their diets and preserving cultural traditions, were often harassed and arrested for collecting wild foods. These discriminatory practices sought to undermine their economic independence and reinforce racial hierarchies. Native American displacement. Indigenous peoples in North America had their foraging rights severely restricted as a result of displacement and the creation of reservations. Treaties were often broken or disregarded, and access to traditional foraging grounds was cut off. For example, the General Allotment Act of 1887, Dawes Act, led to the fragmentation of tribal lands, making it difficult for Native Americans to sustain traditional practices, including foraging. Africa. Colonial land seizures. In colonial Africa, European settlers expropriated vast tracts of land for their own use, forcibly removing indigenous communities. These communities, who had long practiced sustainable foraging, were prohibited from accessing their ancestral lands. This not only disrupted their food sources but also suppressed their cultural and traditional knowledge. For example, in Kenya, the British colonial government restricted access to forests, criminalizing the foraging activities of the Kikuyu people. Urban foraging restrictions. In many urban areas around the world, laws and ordinances have been enacted that restrict foraging in public spaces. These laws often disproportionately affect communities of color who rely on foraging to supplement their diets. These restrictions are sometimes justified under the guise of public safety or environmental conservation, but they can perpetuate food insecurity among marginalized populations. In recent years, however, there has been a renewed interest in foraging as people seek to reconnect with nature, embrace sustainable living practices, and rediscover the culinary and medicinal value of wild foods.
Now, I am an outdoor educator. I am a wild food forager. I am a reluctant social media star. And yes, I am a vegan. Thank you. That's not the reaction I usually get. Between the veganism and the foraging, I have one of the more eclectic pantries in the world. Meet the indigo milk cap. Let's make a fancy dessert out of seaweed. Here is a mimosa treat.
Reuse, rethink, renew. Exploring eco-conscious living in the city. This is Urban Green within Habitat NYC.
This is garlic mustard. It's a member of the mustard family that protects itself from insects by smelling and tasting like garlic. A very good defense unless Italian insects find it. This is poor man's pepper. Has a single stem, gets about 1.5 feet tall. This is yellow wood sorrel, Oxalis stricta. Has a 3-parted heart-shaped leaf, 5-petaled yellow flower, radially symmetrical, tastes like lemonade. People confuse it with clover, but clover has oval leaves. This is folklore. It hasn't been proven, but according to the folklore, if the wood sorrel flowers open, it's not going to rain. If they close, then it will rain.
Overall, the history of foraging is a testament to humanity's deep-rooted connection to the natural world and the enduring significance of traditional knowledge in sustaining both individuals and communities.